I think one thing I want to highlight just for our pre-K families, because sometimes there's a misconception out there that if I attend pre-K at a school, I'm guaranteed to go to that school for kindergarten, and I do not have to complete the GoCPS application. That is not true. That is a myth. Okay?
It is.
You talk a little bit about that because we want to clarify that for folks.
Yeah, so if you are attending a CPS pre-K program at a school that is not your designated neighborhood school, unless you attend Suter, Drummond, or Inter-American, you do not have a guaranteed continuing seat into the kindergarten program. If you do attend Suter, Drummond, or Inter-American, you can continue there for kindergarten without reapplying, but in all other cases, you will need to reapply.
Erika, thank you so much for being here today. This is a topic that I know that a lot of families across Chicago are waiting for. I know we're getting ready to start school in about 3 weeks, but I also know that in the fall, we will launch our GoCPS application, and that is a highly sought after application. So I want you to talk a little bit about the application, but I want to give you an opportunity just to introduce yourself to our family here at Circle Time Conversations.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Erika Peterson. I work for the Office of Access and Enrollment, and we manage the GoCPS application, which is for students who are applying to grades K through 9. And then I specifically manage the process for our elementary applicants, so anyone who would be entering grades K through 8th grade.
Okay. And so, Erika, I know, there's a close date and there's an open date, and I know it's shifted sometimes. Can you tell us, just so my families here who are interested are clear on when will the application open for next school year and when will it close? And kind of talk a little bit about the application itself, what families need, and all of the good details that you think may be important for them to know.
Sure, yeah. So the GoCPS application for the 26 to 27 school year, that will open on Tuesday, September 23rd at 10 a.m. And it's set to close on Friday, November 14th at 5 p.m. So in previous application cycles, sometimes that deadline has extended into December. But one thing that we're really trying to do as much as we can this year, and hopefully in future cycles as well, is get families their results earlier.
Oh, I know that, because let me tell you, I know I was on the receiving end, and I want to tell you, I think I checked my email like every day, and I was refreshing, like, we're on the results. So I appreciate your team and the district for really being thoughtful to know that we want those responses as early as possible, because folks have to make decisions, right?
Right, exactly, yeah. And that's exactly the thinking behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So this past year, if you were applying to kindergarten or elementary school programs, those results came out in mid-April. So if we're able to close the application a month earlier, then maybe we can get those out in March is really what we're going for.
That's amazing. And so, we know it's a highly sought after application. We know that, families are waiting around the clock for it to open. What documents or what is it that families need? Because I know we probably got some families now that are like, what do I need to get? Let me get ready for this launch. So what documents do they need to gather?
So I think the great part about the application is that they don't need to gather any documents to apply.
Yay!
So those documents that they may need to register or enroll, they're not going to need to present those until they actually have an offer from a school that they've accepted. Or if they've decided to go to their neighborhood school, they'll just bring those documents and present them directly at enrollment in the spring or summer. So those documents would be things like proof of age documentation, probably a birth certificate. And then proof of address. I know 2 proof of address documents are required at registration. But aside from that, and during the application process, no documents are needed.
So all a family would need to do to apply in the fall when the application opens is to sit down at their computer and enter their information, right?
In fact, if the family has a current student who is attending a CPS pre-K program, they may not need to enter the information, just review it, because all the information that is in Aspen, the student information system, is going to pull directly into the GoCPS application.
Wow, even better. So if I'm a kindergarten parent, first, second, third, the application goes kindergarten through 8th grade. So if I am a parent and I have a former student, I can sit down and some of my information may be pre-populated. And I'll just review it to make sure it's still same address, all that good stuff. But then I will put in the information for the current child that I'm looking to enroll, correct?
Right, that's correct. So yeah, if you have a student who is a current CPS student, then we'll automatically pull their information in. If I will say, if any information is wrong, like if you're looking at your current CPS pre-K student's address and you're like, I've moved, this isn't right, you will need to go to your student's current school in order to get that information updated.
Okay.
And then that change, once it's made by the school, will pull automatically into our system.
Good. All right. So it seems like pretty streamlined, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Oh, amazing. Can you talk a little bit about trainings or, pop-up events that you're going to have where families who may want some additional help can go to get information?
Yeah, so the main thing we do is each fall application season, we offer usually about 4 to potentially more family trainings. These are all virtual. They're hosted on Zoom. The sign-up link will be directly on the main page of the GoCPS website. So it's just go.cps.edu, and that'll get you
say
there.
That again.
Go.cps.edu.
Great. Okay.
Yes. So that's the main GoCPS webpage. We have banners that we rotate with new information. So if you're looking to sign up for a family training, once those are available later in the fall, I'm sure we'll put those up sometime in September. The registration form will be right there. So we typically offer about 4 trainings in English and about the same amount in Spanish as well.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Now, Erika, so, there's a long runway between when you open the application and when you close, a couple months. What if some of my information changes from that time? Am I able to go into the application to make changes? Like, what is that process?
So I can say for sure that when you're choosing and selecting programs to apply to, as well as ranking those programs in order of preference, which is another thing that families will need to do. So not only will you need to select the programs you want to apply to, but also rank them in order of preference, because our system is set up to give families a single best offer when results are released in the spring. So we need to know what programs families want the most so we can make sure we're getting them that most preferred offer.
So your most preferred offer would be your first choice?
Yes. So the choice you rank number 1, that is the program you want most.
Okay.
Yep. Those rankings and those program selections, you can change anytime up through the application deadline, as many times as you would like. There's no limit on making any changes along those lines.
Okay.
So we always recommend when you go into the application for the first time and you begin it and you select your schools, it's okay if you haven't finalized your rankings or if you think you want to still add programs. We always recommend submitting that application right away, because you can always go back in and make changes, and submitting that application ensures that you're not going to miss the deadline.
I'm sure you've had folks, and tell me what happens. I'm sure you've had folks that started, got distracted for whatever reason, did not come back, and now the application closes.
Yeah, so what happens in those scenarios is if you have started an application and you've added some program selections to your application, once the application closes, we'll go in and find those pending applications and we will submit them on your behalf.
That's so wonderful. I'm so grateful for that, because I just know life is lifing for a lot of folks right now. And it's good for the community to know that, all in all, we're saying go in, make your choices, submit, and then make changes. But it's also good to know that there's that safety net. But I wouldn't rely on that, folks.
No, especially because ranking programs in order of preference is such a vital part of the application. And we want to make sure that families are getting the schools that they are the most interested in and excited about for their family. So we absolutely recommend that you make sure that you have your programs that you want ranked in the order that you want them, and that you make sure that you submit that application before that November 14th deadline.
So, I have a quick little story. I just went through this process maybe a couple years ago, my daughter, and I was stressing out. Even as a CPS employee, I was stressing out because she was going into middle school, and I wanted to get her into one of the coveted academic centers. And so we had to go do the testing and all of that. But I was, on pins and needles until I got the offer. So talk a little bit about the testing piece that's involved, because there are some schools where and programs where testing is required, like the one I just mentioned.
Yeah, so we have selective enrollment programs beginning with entry grades as early as kindergarten. So in fact, most of our selective enrollment programs, with the exception for elementary school, with the exception of those academic center programs that begin in 7th grade, the majority of our selective enrollment elementary programs begin in kindergarten. So we have a few different categories of selective enrollment programs. We have classical schools and regional gifted centers. Both of those programs are programs that offer accelerated instruction, typically about a year to 2 ahead of the student's actual grade level. Mm-hmm. The main difference between those two program types is the type of test that they use to select students. So classical programs use an academic achievement test. Students are tested on their reading and math skills. Okay. And then for regional gifted centers, those are more of like a reasoning skills test. So students are tested on their nonverbal and verbal reasoning abilities. So different kind of things that we're looking at, but both accelerated programs. The great thing about applying to kindergarten for those program types is that your student will receive both the classical and regional gifted center test, which measure different things, in a single test session.
Yeah, I love that.
So that's only for our kindergarten families. For older grade levels, 1st through 8th grade, that classical and regional gifted center test, those are separate testing appointments. But if you're applying to kindergarten, it's just one testing appointment and you're done, which I think is really helpful when you have a 4-year-old who...
As a former pre-K teacher, I can tell you. Okay, so you talked about the types of tests, the types of programs. How do they schedule for tests? Is that part of the application? Will there be some flexibility of choice on where you are able to go for testing?
Yeah, so that's done directly in the application. So we have separate sort of applications that are available to families who are applying to, let's say, kindergarten. So if I'm applying to kindergarten, I would go into the classical and regional gifted center programs application. If I want to apply to those programs that require testing, I would select my programs, I would rank them, and then once I've done that, it will automatically prompt me to schedule a testing session.
Okay.
So for classical and regional gifted center programs, all testing takes place at IIT, the Illinois Institute of Technology. It's kind of in the area of where the White Sox play. So that's our testing location. Testing for kindergarten typically begins in October, and it'll extend through, past the application deadline. So you could schedule testing in, potentially as late as January, and that's absolutely fine. We only need you to schedule your testing appointment before the application closes. You don't actually have to attend testing, before November 14th. So that's something that sometimes families are concerned about, but no, as long as you schedule your testing appointment before the application deadline, you're good to go. If you need to reschedule your testing appointment,
that's what I was going to ask.
So if you need to reschedule, which is pretty common, if it's still up to 2 weeks until your testing appointment, you can go directly into the application and reschedule like right in the application. So if it's less than 2 weeks until your testing appointment, you will have to contact us or our testing team in order to get rescheduled.
So this is all good information, first of all, thank you so much. Is there a number where families can call and speak directly with your team that can help them through the application process?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a hotline. That phone number is 773-553-2060. So you can contact that number if you need help with anything or if you have questions about any aspect of the process. That's also the number to call if you need to reschedule your testing appointment.
Perfect.
And then we can also be reached by email at gocps@cps.edu, and that email goes directly to our team as well.
Great. Well, I must say that I know the GoCPS application has gone through several iterations, and I want to say that I've heard that it has been very streamlined here recently, and families really appreciate the work that your team and the Office of Access and Enrollment has done behind the scenes to make sure that families are able to access programming across the district. I know our office partners with your office, and we're grateful for the partnership as well. Before we close out, is there any other information that you think is pertinent for families?
The most important thing is just to do your research. Think about what matters to you in a school. There are so many options out there, and you can apply to a lot of different programs, but attend tours, go to open houses. We post some of those if schools report them to us directly on the GoCPS website, on the GoCPS calendar. But yeah, do your research, and then, always remember as well that you are guaranteed a seat at your designated neighborhood school, and you do not need to apply to that school through GoCPS. So that's a guarantee, no application needed.
I think one thing I want to highlight just for our pre-K families, because sometimes there's a misconception out there that if I attend pre-K at a school, I'm guaranteed to go to that school for kindergarten, and I do not have to complete the GoCPS application. That is not true. That is a myth. Okay?
It is.
You talk a little bit about that, because we want to clarify that for folks.
Yeah, so if you are attending a CPS pre-K program at a school that is not your designated neighborhood school, unless you attend Suter, Drummond, or Inter-American, you do not have a guaranteed continuing seat into the kindergarten program. If you do attend Suter, Drummond, or Inter-American, you can continue there for kindergarten without reapplying, but in all other cases, you will need to reapply. One thing that I'll add that we're really excited about this year is that we're introducing a new priority preference to the application process. So if you attend pre-K at a school that's not your neighborhood school,
which most folks do.
Yes, yes. And you're interested in continuing there for kindergarten, you do need to apply there for kindergarten. But this year we will be able to add a priority where students will receive a pre-K priority for applying to the school where they attend preschool. So that won't be like necessarily the first in line. If your sibling attends a school that you're applying to, that's the first preference that we always consider. But kind of right after that, if you're applying to the school where you attend pre-K, you will be prioritized next in line and considered ahead of students who aren't attending pre-K there.
So no guarantee.
No guarantees.
But you have a preferred place in the preference.
Yes, so you get a priority in the lottery. Yep.
Perfect. That is so huge, because that's one of the things that we've heard from families, that at least allow me to be considered, right? And so we are able as a district now to do that. And that was a lot of hard work, but families, it happened because you pushed and you asked and the district responded. So, Erika, I have a favorite childhood game, red light, green light. Did you play this as a child?
I did.
All right. So, you know. So, one of the things here, too, on this podcast is we're about demystifying things for families, right? We want to pull the shade back. We want to tell the truth. And so this game is my way of getting to the truth. And so I'm going to ask you a question. And if it sounds right, you want to pull up the green. Partially right with some clarity or explanation, you want to pull up the yellow. If it's an outright myth or not true, you want to hold up the red, okay? All right, so we started talking a little bit around myths already earlier in the conversation. And so my first question is, if a family misses the deadline to apply for their child in the GoCPS applications, they have completely ruined their child's opportunity to get into school.
Okay, I'm gonna go with.
Yo, which one do you say?
I mean, I'm gonna go with this.
Okay, tell me why.
Okay, so I object to the word ruin. Like there are second opportunities. So in the spring, after initial offers are released, we open up what's called the rolling waitlist process. If you missed the initial application deadline, or even if you didn't, but there's other programs that you forgot to add to your application that you now are interested in, you can join those waitlists. It opens in the spring typically. I would expect that for 26-27, it will probably open sometime in April or May. So still plenty in advance of, the first day of school. Mm-hmm. That said, if you do wait until the rolling waitlist process to apply to schools for what we call our choice elementary programs that select students based on a random computerized lottery, you will be placed at the end of the existing waitlist. So if you're interested in a very high demand program, and you're not joining until the rolling waitlist process, your chances are probably not going to be great.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of programs that are still, looking to fill seats during the rolling waitlist process. So you have not ruined your chances. And if you are interested in your neighborhood school, that guarantee is always there. No application deadline at all for that kind of program. And then again, also for our selective enrollment programs, we generally offer some spring testing opportunities. So if you're interested in selective enrollment programs, even if you miss that initial application window, there's generally a second chance for you as well in the spring.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I don't think many folks are aware. So I think the more that we can do as a district to elevate that opportunity around that rolling wait list and that second chance for folks to get into programs, I think will be beneficial to families. So I think we have time for one more question. So if I'm a family and I totally miss the GoCPS application trainings and I feel like I just don't know how to navigate the system, I should probably not mess with it. Yeah. Tell me why.
So first of all, if you missed a training, the great news is that we record them.
Yay.
And we post them to the resources section of the GoCPS website. So those are available for you to watch asynchronously. But also, our office and our team is available as a resource to families who need assistance applying, who have questions, anything like that. So I gave our hotline number earlier.
You can give it again.
I will give it again. It is 773-553-2060. And then our email is gocps@cps.edu.
You cannot miss that email.
You cannot.
Say it one more time.
GoCPS@cps.edu. Yes. So both of those, both the email and the phone number will get you directly to members of our team, the GoCPS team, and we'll be able to assist with any questions that you have.
So the teacher and me cannot end this episode without giving homework. I'm going to allow you to give homework, and I'm going to give the action item. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. So we've been talking a lot about the application. We talked about the fact that you don't need anything other than just to apply in the GoCPS application system. We also talked about, there's really no wrong door, no opportunity for you to, mess this up for your child. So as we're thinking about all the things shared within this space with families, what's your one homework item for families to do as a result of hearing all the information shared today?
I would say my one homework item would be to go to the GoCPS website, go.cps.edu, click on where it says school search, and type in your home address. That's going to tell you what your designated neighborhood school is. I think everyone should know that. I think everyone should learn about their neighborhood school. But it'll also show you lots of different types of programs that are available near you. It has a filter where you can filter for specific program types. If you're interested in selective enrollment programs that offer accelerated instruction, if you're interested in certain specialties like STEM or the arts, you can use those filters to find types of programs that meet your family's needs, and they're also located near your home address.
I love that homework, and I'm going to give you an action item, families. In addition to what Erika said, I want you to go apply. I want you to go apply to GoCPS.edu.
Go.cps.edu is our website. The application itself, actually, though, it's linked on the main GoCPS website. But if you want to go directly to the application, it's apply.cps.edu.
My action item is for families to go apply at
apply.cps.edu.
Please. And then my other action item is to share. Share this podcast, share this information with neighbors, friends, colleagues, because we have strong, high-quality programming in the district, and this is the entryway in how you access those programs for kindergarten through 8th grade. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you, Erika, for being with us today.
Thank you.